If you like your horror to be Christian propaganda, then boy, do I have the movie for you. Hey everybody, my name is Gavin and I love horror. Today we'll be doing a review of the 2023 film Nefarious. Now this movie was marketed as a straight horror film, but actually turned out to be a Christian film. Now is the movie as preachy as some have made it out to be, or is it actually not that bad? Let's get into it. Before we get started, would love if you leave a like for this video and subscribe to the channel. My channel is growing and it could not be done without all of you. I appreciate all of your support, all the times you leave comments or leave likes or subscribe to the channel. So thank you so much for all of your continued support. It is appreciated. Also, I do want to say that, yeah, I'm going to make some jokes during this review, but I absolutely do not intend to insult anybody's beliefs. I respect everybody's beliefs. I myself have my own set of beliefs. All I ask is that you don't use those beliefs to persecute or hurt others. If you're not doing that, it's all good. Now, this is not my first time exposed to a Christian film. I have a religious aunt who would always ask me to go out to see movies with her, and I'd be like, yeah, let's go see a movie. Let's check it out. And when we get there, she'd be like, we're actually gonna go see the new Kirk Cameron movie, which, so yeah, I saw Fireproof in the theater. I contributed to its box office. I'm sorry. With that said, I kind of knew what I was getting into with this being a Christian film. I kind of knew what to expect. For those unfamiliar, Nefarious is a psychological thriller that follows the story of James, who is a psychologist who is going to a prison to interview a death row inmate named Edward. Edward is set to be executed at midnight that night, and he's been charged with like multiple murders. He's a serial killer. Edward claims he's not responsible for these murders, so he's actually under the possession of a demon. So it's James's job to determine whether or not he is insane or if he's fit to be executed. Edward is played by Sean Patrick Flanery of Boondock Saints film and is like the big name star attached to the movie. And honestly, the idea of a prison inmate being possessed by a demon, that is not a bad premise for a movie. Being like, oh, are they possessed? Are they not possessed? Are they responsible for these murders? It's a good premise. I mean, it's so good, The Conjuring 3 did it a few years ago. The idea of being possessed and a demon inside you committing murders and then you're responsible for those murders, that idea is pretty terrifying. It's something that Nefarious does very well. At times, Nefarious is actually very captivating for a two guys in a room talking type of movie. You want to know, is Edward actually possessed or is he just crazy? But because this is a Christian movie, you already know the devil in that bar. He in there. The devil was also in the marketing for Nefarious, and the director admitted this, saying that basically he marketed it as a mainstream horror movie, when in actuality, it is a Christian film. It's kind of like when your Christian friend invites you over to play video games, but turns out it's actually Bible study night. I'm also convinced that the director asked very nicely to have this movie rated R to kind of appeal to like the horror's gotta be rated R crowd, because there's nothing above a hard PG in Nefarious. Like I kept wondering, like, when they gonna start swearing? When's a titty gonna pop out? Like what's gonna? And none of that ever happens. Like nothing. It's like a Jaws is more of an R-rated movie than Nefarious is. And I'm not okay with this deception because theater goers should know what they're buying and who they're supporting. And honestly, I think it's funny that one of the commandments is thou shalt not lie, unless that lie is to get people to see your horror movie. As James and Edward continue their interview, James admits to Edward that he doesn't believe in demons because he's an atheist. An atheist is the worst thing you can be in a Christian movie. Still, this doesn't bother Edward because he's like, I'm going to convince you demons are real, the devil's real, and that you are doing the devil's work. And this is where it transitions from being like a regular demonic possession horror movie to Sunday school Silence of the Lambs. Are the lambs still screaming, Clarice? Let me tell you about another lamb. The Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. Fava beans. I do want to take a second to comment on Sean Patrick Flanery's acting in this because he's like the big acting draw. He's been in like real movies and his acting ranges from pretty good to why did you make that acting choice? He's playing two characters, he's playing Nefarious, he's playing Edward, so they have to be differentiated in some way, but the way he does that is very strange. Like as Nefarious, his line delivery is very like sinister and like, I will convince you, James, I am a demon. But he makes like these weird facial choices where he's like, I will convince you that the devil is real. He's real. And then Edward is just basically stuttering the whole time, like, he's a demon, he's a demon, he won't let me, he's a demon. I'm like, you gotta scale it back, my guy. You gotta, because it is a cartoon. For the first 45 minutes, Nefarious actually isn't that bad of a movie. Like, I'm captivated. I want to know what was going to happen next. The acting was good enough that I was like, this is not bad acting. This is pretty good acting. It's not until the subject of abortion comes up that things go all the way off the rails. The demon brings up that James's girlfriend is having an abortion right that second, which I personally hate it when I double book myself for a death row inmate interview and my girlfriend's abortion. Like, man, I gotta get my Google Calendar sorted out. Be like, oh, your abortion's today? Oh no, I forgot. The way the scene plays out is so over the top and hilarious. I don't know how anybody can take it seriously. From the demon doing live commentary of the abortion process to James rushing to a payphone to call the abortion clinic to try to stop the abortion just in the nick of time, like he's trying to stop a bomb from going off. I love that he calls the abortion clinic and is like, is it done yet? Is it done? And they're like, yeah, we already aborted. We good. Which, fun fact, that's a HIPAA violation. You can't just call abortion clinics asking, is that abortion done? Like, that's not a thing you can do. I also hate that this movie has me bringing up HIPAA violations. This is when the movie becomes very ham-fisted in its message of Christianity, and basically it becomes like, abortion bad. If you have an abortion, you're a murderer. And if you're gonna kill somebody who's possessed by a demon, and the only way to be saved is through the blood of Christ. And I get the appeal of that. That's what the movie's trying to do. And I don't fault it for that. It's just not for me personally. I don't like it to be like that, like ham-fisted when I'm watching a movie. And by the end of it, they execute Edward because he manages to convince James that he threatens him and he gets him to sign off and kills an innocent man or whatever. Who cares? And then at the very end, Glenn Beck shows up. And whenever you have that snake oil salesman of Glenn Beck show up to your movie, you lose all credibility as unbiased or media that should be consumed, because Glenn Beck is the worst. Just do not, if you want to be taken seriously, do not put Glenn Beck in your movie. That's a free tip for movie making. Don't put Glenn Beck in it. It's such a bummer that the movie turned out this way, because honestly, I did enjoy it. I thought it had some good acting, some good directing, and a truly scary premise. It's a bummer that it was made by the people that it was made by, because if it was under Blumhouse, it would have been a much stronger movie that would have appealed to everyone, and it would have been scary, and it wouldn't have had such a preachiness to it. Overall, I guess it was better than I thought it was, but the back half overall preachiness and self-righteousness was just, it was just all too much for me, which is why I'm giving Nefarious a 2 out of 5. But what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. Was Nefarious a good movie for you? Did you enjoy it? Maybe it actually appealed to you and you're like, yeah, I need to get my life together. If that happened, amazing. Let me know about it in the comments below. Or maybe you were just a little bummed out how deceptive the marketing was and you're like, this isn't for me at all, kind of like I was. Let me know in the comments below. As always, leave a like for the video and subscribe to the channel. And until next time, stay weird.